Hi everyone, my name is Daniel Martinovich. I am taking over the Jack.org account today to talk about men's mental health as well as Project Circle Up. Just in a few minutes, I will be inviting some of the men from Project Circle Up to speak about their experiences with mental health as well as answer some of your questions you guys asked earlier today. Be it said, I see some of them requesting right now, so I'm going to add them into the call and we'll jump straight into the questions. All right. There we
Hey,
go. Hello, Flu. How are you?
I'm great. And you?
Awesome. I'm doing well. All right. To kick it off, I'd like to give you the first question. Um, how can we encourage the men in our life to feel comfortable when being vulnerable?
I found this not to be a difficult question, but I've got sort of a two-pronged answer. And my thing that's worked best for me is to do it yourself, to be the example, to just be vulnerable around the men in your life and just open up and be comfortable talking about yourself and sharing and like letting these other men and women and everybody else around you just listen and get them comfortable. And when they're comfortable, I've found in my life, when sharing, when you make somebody feel comfortable and you feel comfortable, they're more comfortable sharing.
Mm-hmm.
And I've had some great conversations just from Circle Up and then after Circle Up, and yeah, it's all just because of sharing myself. And I would say the thing not to do is to pressure somebody into being vulnerable, or not to pressure them, but also to put your agenda on them to say, because you're not vulnerable, you're doing something wrong. And I found with me and with other people, when you feel that pressure and you feel that judgment, you get kind of defensive and you put a bit of a shield up and almost your protective armor, which I don't think is a bad thing. I find we, just as people, have whatever we come to life with, whatever shield or mask we put on just to be safe or feel safe. It's just something we kind of have. And to tell somebody, oh, you're wrong for having this mask or this shield or whatever you're using to protect yourself is wrong. It's not a good feeling when somebody calls you out on that. But when somebody encourages you in a good way and makes you feel safe and like you can share yourself, that I found works the best. Yeah. So I guess short way, like my Coles notes, is just be open yourself and create like a comfortable space where you can listen and share.
I love that. We do have a little bit more time to ask another question, Flu. So I'd just like to ask you specifically, how was your time with Project Circle Up and what have you gained out of it?
We're still going strong, so my time has been fantastic. It's I can remember when I first joined, it was very strange for me. Just I've done group therapy before, and even before Circle Up, but Circle Up was different in that I really didn't know what to expect, and I feel like we all did. We all went to it with sort of no expectations, and by the time I think like our really by the end of that first meeting, it was very clear like this is really going to enhance our lives, and
Mhm.
that's only gotten stronger with each week. And before Circle Up, I wouldn't even thought about doing something like this.
Yeah,
I
yeah, for
I've
sure.
got social anxiety disorder, so the idea of being in front of people, even virtually, is it's
Nerve-wracking.
yeah. But you know what? Because of the power of working with you, man, the power of Circle Up, it's like, you know what, this has to be done, and
Hmm.
it's no hesitation.
Yeah.
So it's like all my worries and anxiety that goes on the back burner when you have these strong people in your life and these strong motivations.
Yeah. I will thank you so much for joining in. I think you hit those questions on the head. It just takes the lead and it takes you to just really take the lead in the sense of being vulnerable with your men and your team, women, anyone around you. And by doing that, you're leading by example, and those people in turn can feel more vulnerable and comfortable around you. So definitely that's something I've seen as a pattern, and it's super helpful. So thank you for joining us, Flute. We're going to pass on the questions to the next gentleman to join, and thank you for joining.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you. All right, next up, we're going to have Anabolu joining in. If you haven't requested, request now, and I will throw you in to ask you some questions, put you on the hot seat. And there we go. Hello, hello.
Yo, what's good, man? How you doing?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Good, good. This is exciting. This is my first ever Instagram Live. It's really cool to do it with Jack.org and the Circle of Men. So thanks for having me on.
Awesome. All right, we'll jump into it. So what advice do you have for the men who are on the verge of seeking help but need that extra push?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, I would say I applaud you for considering it and making it this far. I know for me, that was something that I struggled with, just that last little step to decide to ask for help and to seek help. And I would say the biggest thing I can say as motivation is one, no one's going to do it for you. Like at the end of the day, you have to make that decision to get help. As much as you can have people around you who are encouraging you and want what's best for you, you also at a certain point have to want what's best for you as well. So that last little step, you got to take that. And I think one of the things that motivated me to make that decision was realizing that for the people in my life and for myself, like I didn't want my entire life to be a struggle. And not to say that you're not going to struggle after you seek help and after you get help, but I didn't want when I thought about like my future family, I didn't want my family to have to go through all my challenges and me not be trying to get help. I didn't think it was a good example, and I didn't think it was fair to them, and I didn't think it was fair to myself. And even though I had a mistrust for getting help, and I had a lot of the stigmas that I think a lot of people have around seeking help and looking at it as weakness and different things like that, I thought I was wrong to not at least give it a try. So for anyone who's thinking about getting help or considering it, I would say you have nothing to lose. At the end of the day, these are people who are professionals. They dedicated their lives to helping others, and it would be in your best interest to at least try it and see how it goes and give it a fair shake. Not one foot in, one foot out, but give it the full chance of you trying your best and giving it your all and trusting the process. So that's from someone who's tried it and who fought it for a very long time getting help, but finally doing it, it's made a big difference in my life.
Definitely. Taking that plunge is so important. And sometimes people feel like they're almost there, they're about to get the help they need or feel more vulnerable, but there's a point where they're like, hey, maybe this might not work out for me. But honestly speaking, I've never heard anyone talk bad about getting help. There's never been negative issues with people having that support in a good channel. So thank you for sharing that. And I'd like to lead into the next question, but what is the best way you could engage men about mental health because of these barriers and stigmas you're talking about?
Yeah, for sure. I think, going back to what Flute said and being that example, kind of being that first one to take that step, it's hard. It's not easy. But I think that, we kind of set the agenda when it comes to like the relationships and the conversations that we have with our friends and family and different people and even strangers, right? And I like to think of things from the perspective of like really simple terms, like, am I living from a place of fear or am I living from a place of bravery? And a lot of being vulnerable is about being brave and being and trying, even though it seems scary. And I'd say that to really try and make a difference, you got to kind of decide that you want to live from a principled place. And so for me, I want to live from a principled place, and I want to, even if it's an awkward situation, to be like, hey, maybe we should talk about what's going on with you, or talk about what's going on with me, right? I think that doing that from a place of what, I'm just gonna at least try, I'm just gonna put it out there and do my best. I think that's important, and I think that changes the character by which you go about life. And so for me, I know that in terms of encouraging people to talk about what's going on with men's mental health or what's going on with your own mental health, I think it's important that you at least give it a chance. And you know what? It might not go as well as you would hope, right? You never know how things are going to go. You can't do something and expect a certain result, right? Like you can do your best and hope for a good result. But whatever you do, you got to at least try, right? And so I think that when you're talking about looking at bringing up that conversation and encouraging people to talk about like men's mental health and things like that, you just got to give it a chance. You just got to put yourself out there, not come from a place of fear, but come from a place of bravery.
Yeah.
And regardless of what the result is, you'll feel good that you know that you tried something in a brave way. It's like it's like anything that you want to try in life that's new or novel or is intimidating, right? The best part of life is on the other side of that fear, right? And even if the results aren't what you wanted them to be or what you expected them to be, the fact that you did it makes the biggest difference. So I would encourage you to look at it from that perspective as like, I'm trying to be brave and not live from a place of fear because I feel better knowing that I'm coming from a place of bravery.
Powerful, powerful words. Always wants
Thank
to
you.
hit the meaning on the head. Thank you, man.
Thanks, Martinovich.
All right,
Yeah, man.
thank you for joining. I'm gonna invite the next gentleman in, and we're gonna jump into some more questions. Thank you.
All right, take care, guys.
All right, so next up, we're gonna have Masara jumping in, and he's gonna be taking it away with the next two questions. Please feel free to ask some other questions in the chat in the comments, and we can ask those on the fly if we think they're good questions. Of course, this is for you guys, and this is for everyone that's in here to actually listen in and get some value from this. So please feel free to drop questions. Anabolu, I love you. But
Love you too, man.
you're gonna have to leave the live stream.
Yeah.
So,
I was waiting to get kicked out. Hang on. I don't know how to leave. I told you it's my first time.
me too, man.
All right. I'm gonna sign out and then I'm gonna sign back in.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good to see you. All right, so we're gonna be inviting Masara in, and he will be jumping in next. Oh, there we go. How do you get past the perception or barriers of weakness with men's mental health, and how do you kind of break that stigma?
I think the most important part with overcoming, overcoming the stigma and changing the perception surrounding weakness is firstly define or think about what defines strength for you. So in other words, think about like your values and if you want to be like a strong person, like what kind of characteristics does that involve? So for example, like if you want to be courageous, if your form of strength is courage, then like you kind of relate that to reaching out for help and how that's a courageous thing to do. If part of strength for you is persistence, if you have a challenge with your well-being, either physically or mentally, then being persistent and overcoming that challenge can be a source of strength for you. If compassion is a source of strength for you, then treating yourself with compassion and allowing other people to be compassionate towards you can also be a form of being strong for you. And then I think the other main thing is what we call in our men's group in Project Circle Up, like getting out of your head. And I think now, especially with all the isolation that we're going through and not being able to see each other as much, we're all in our heads a lot more. And I think when you're in your head, the problems you're experiencing end up getting amplified. So the process of taking whatever is going on in your head and taking it out of your head and putting it into reality is a huge step in terms of like overcoming that, I guess, that fear and whatever is getting in the way of you living a healthy life and being the person you want to be.
Powerful context, as Andrew would say. This is a question for Andrews in the chat. Would you like to join the live stream in a bit as well? I know you haven't officially signed up, but I would love to hear from the founder of Project Circle Up. And as Masara said, powerful words. It really comes to finding what your strength is and what your weakness is and how to really combat that with support, especially now with so much more time in our heads. And we're our biggest enemies sometimes. And I feel that like you need some people to get you out of your own head. And I guess joining this to like follow up with this next question, how has Circle Up helped you, and where do you see the strengths for other people that would hopefully be willing to join a type of group like Project Circle Up?
I think Circle Up has helped me in so many ways. I think on the surface, the simplest way to put it is like confidence. I think I show up more confident for myself and for others. But I think as I reflect more, I think it's given me a much clearer sense of who I am and who I want to be, and how I guess what I've been doing up until now hasn't been getting me closer to who I want to be, and in turn what I need to do to get closer and eventually realize that the person who I've always wanted to become. And I think it's given me a space, and as well as everyone else, all the other men we've interacted with, a space to take our masks off and be vulnerable about who we are, who we want to be, what we're doing that's not serving us, and then allowing other men who truly care about us to give us really important feedback about what we can do to get closer to being the person we've always wanted to be.
Awesome, man. It really takes it takes time for you to really dig deep and understand what you really want. And not a lot of times people even think about or flirt with the idea of how their friends or family could support them in that way, how they could specifically serve them or how you can serve others. And I think that's super powerful in Project Circle Up. So thank you for joining again. I know you had little hiccups, and thank you for joining, Masara. We are going to be inviting the next guest, and I will see you again shortly.
Thank you for having me, Martinovich.
Thank you. All right.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good.
Awesome. All right, and then we can jump straight into it. How has mental health shaped your actions and your life and the decisions you make?
Yeah, absolutely. How's mental health? Yeah, I would definitely say in so many ways, you know, I approach this like from a societal type of standpoint. You know, my ego has been a big part of that, like my mental health. I think like my ego and like my inner child, if you want to say, has kind of gotten in the way of my mental health, in the sense that I'm always considering what other people think about me. And I'm always having this, like, putting this expectation way higher above myself and just based off of everyone around me. So I think just basically because of that and the way my ego's kind of gotten in the way and worry about what other people think all the time, it's really put me at some points in a very unhealthy mental spot. If that kind of answers the question.
Definitely, definitely. And how have you been trying to, I guess, not get around this, but improve that aspect of your life?
Yeah. So it's just being true to who I am, just getting, you know, spend some time and with myself. And I mean, this COVID lockdown, as we were discussing yesterday, has been such a blessing in so many ways, of just being able to go internal, just spend time with myself and be more around people that I trust and speak out to those people. And just kind of realizing the difference between like my ego's voice speaking and like truly what my heart is saying, you know what I mean? And who I'm supposed to be as a man. And once I've kind of made this distinction between like the ego and my heart, I think I've been able to follow my path a lot more, and inevitably it's been more mentally healthy.
Awesome. And I guess to kind of follow that up as well, a very similar type of question, but how has Project Circle Up, I guess something I actually ask is, how did Project Circle Up start, and what have you learned from being a part of it?
Yeah, so I don't know if I was, Andrews will have to back me up on this or confirm this, but I think I was one of the first people, like about a year ago now, that was kind of just like, you know, COVID lockdowns happening. I'm not able to do a men's weekend and officially join a men's team. So I was just like, is there anything that I can do? And I know myself and then other men as well were kind of saying the same thing. Like, I want to be on the men's team. But these weekends weren't available and COVID and everything. So I think that's what really sparked the conversations with Andrews and the other men that started it. And then it's just the purpose behind, you know, wanting to inspire change in our community with men. And I think, you know, it's been perfect timing for myself and a lot of men, especially in this year of COVID, where mental health has been just skyrocketing in such a way that has been, you know, a lot of lives have been lost because of, you know, all this time we've been spending alone. Yeah, and it's just, and to answer the second part of how it's impacted me, like, simply, I think it's helped me go from a boy to a man. And to put context to that, like, a lot of people associate a man by their age, but I associate it by their character and their word. And for me, being 25, like, I really think having the men around me act as a mirror in my life has really made me realize, like, you're acting as, certain things I was doing were very boyish. And specifically for me, it was being in my feelings a lot more and realizing that being a man is, doing what you say, having integrity, and you don't always get to do what you feel like doing, like, and that was my mentality before. So the men of it's being a mirror have helped me a lot in that aspect.
Definitely. A strong character and just doing what you say is such a powerful relationship. Like, just respecting your word, and I feel like that's such a strong thing for mental health, because you aren't placing all these misconceptions like, hey, I'll do this, I'll do that, and then stressing yourself out when those things don't happen. So being very consistent and true to yourself is super strong. And thank you for joining again. I'm going to be inviting Postman next, so I'll be seeing you soon, Marquezi.
Sounds good. Take care.
All right, take care. All right, next up, Postma. Let me get him in here. And there we go. Send request. All right, he should be joining very soon. Right after Postma, we're going to have Andrews hopefully joining in from Mexico, if his Wi-Fi accepts that. And we'll love to hear some words from the founder of Project Circle Up. It just proves to show that everyone has a different idea or understanding of mental health and how it affects them, how they're benefiting from it, as well as their whole life in general around mental health. It's such a wide spectrum. You can never really just place it to one or two key things, and that's why you really got to support each other, as well as be vulnerable to understand what someone else's issues with mental health are and how you can support them, how you can serve them. And that's the biggest takeaway from Project Circle Up in my own eyes. Okay, Postman, I think I sent it again. Hopefully you'll be able to see a pop-up. If not, yep, they're connecting. Awesome.
Okay.
Hey
there, Martinovich, how are you?
I'm good. I'm doing well.
Ah, excellent. Well, thanks for inviting me. That's your good Australian accent, man.
Yeah. Love the accent. All right, so we're going to jump straight into it. How can allies best support men's mental health?
And that's a great question, because for me, I used to suffer alone by myself a lot, and it's just not a great way to go no matter what. And what I found is that by being a part of this Circle Up team, and by the way, big thanks to Jonathan Andrews for reaching out and calling me in last January, February to be a part of that campfire. That was actually a real eye-opening event, and it really gave me the opportunity to kind of really think about how I think and how I feel. And you know what? There's no reason to suffer alone. So we're all in a group. So I guess the best way that I can answer this question is join a group. Get together with a group of other men. Talk about your feelings. Sounds kind of funny, but you want the more you do it, the better, actually the easier it gets, and the better it gets for yourself. So that way we do start to get out of our own heads. And for me, when I start to speak, I start to actually see the words that are coming out of my mouth. So I'm more of a visual guy. So when I'm speaking it, I'm like seeing it. I'm like, hey, that makes a lot more sense than it ever did before. And what I've also learned by being part of this group and having these allies that help you cope is, we have our regular check-ins. We speak to other group members on a regular basis. Sometimes it might be a surprise, where I get a surprise text, or I get a surprise phone call. Well, it's not really a surprise, but it's nice to have guys out there who have a lot of common goals and who have a lot of commonalities that we all want to, better ourselves against. And by checking in, we got to check in with not only our accountability partner, our call buddy, but we also have to check in with who they are, what they're feeling, what they're doing at that time. And then at the same time, it allows you to check in for yourself, and just to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to do everything, answer all these questions that have been on this panel so far. And I've learned a great deal from all these guys, and I feel like the elder statesman at 47 in the group, and You know, there's always something that they can learn from me, but at the same time, with a bunch of 20 somethings, I'm learning a lot from them as well. And you know, I applaud you guys on your efforts. I feel like you guys you're far beyond your knowledge within your 20s than I ever was. So I'm gonna, I can somewhat summarize this, but when I think about an ally, you can think about an I in team. Yeah, there's one person that can do a lot of work. We can get a lot accomplished, but together we are stronger. And you start building that mental army with each other. You stand strong and you stand tall, and those are just amazing things that we can do together as men. So I hope that answers the question. I hope you guys got a lot out of that today.
Definitely did. And I guess a great question, Emma in the chat actually like to kind of spin it off as well, is there a way that our female allies can support us and start these conversations with the men in their lives?
Absolutely. I'm not going to be an expert on that, but you know, it all just starts with a simple conversation. Hi, how was your day? How are you doing? Where are you? Like, did you have a good day, a bad day? Like, are you stressed out? Are you, you know, going on a mental high? Like, you know, how can we help each other get there together? That would just be the start of it, just having open communication.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. That's the only way to start it. You can never talk about it if you don't start the conversation.
Exactly.
And I guess to lead into the next question, hopefully the Jack community doesn't get mad at us for going over on time. We're probably going to spend a couple more minutes on the live stream. Hopefully everyone that is joining is enjoying this valuable conversation and getting something from it. I guess the next question I'd like to ask you is, how do you cope with burnout, since that is such a common thing nowadays with quarantine and self-isolation?
Burnout is probably the hardest thing that I've ever experienced it, because I've always decided I'm just a stubborn ass guy, and always have been. It's not because of getting older, but I've just been stubborn in my ways. And when I burn out, it just took forever to get going. But as time has gone on, I've experienced it in different ways, and the best way that I've experienced it is starting to reflect on what I did wrong or why I didn't start in the first place. And I've kind of just recently, you know, started crawling out of the hole in terms of getting one of my new career goals. And it's just reflecting on everything that you've done that didn't go well, and then focus on things that you can change about yourself, things that you can do better tomorrow than you did today. And you know, sounds like a motivational, inspirational speech, but it's very much part of it. You have to be able to look at yourself and see what you've done, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. And I think it's just mentally very challenging, of course, but you know, connecting with another group of guys and just saying, hey, you know what, I'm burning out. Like, what's up? Like, you know, have you guys experienced this? Just by asking simple questions, you're going to find out very quickly that other people just like you have experienced the exact same thing, and they will have advice, they will have answers that you didn't even think of. So just again, start communicating to different people, and you will find your answers. You will get going, and once you get through that burnout stage, you look back and go, wow, that was actually a little bit easier this time around. So, you know, next time around, I'm going to realize what it is that I'm doing incorrectly and start to do things right, and you'll get out of that rut a lot faster. So I hope that answers the question.
Definitely. And as you said, like, burnout and these type of like issues in our lives come up, and there's usually certain patterns behind it, and there's very clear reasons why those things are arising. And by communicating with other people, you can really get their understanding of how they dealt with it, and it can better redefine how you deal with burnout. So it's so important not to burn out alone, You should never be doing that. And communicating with your team and your allies is so important.
Yeah, and just
So,
realizing you're
mhm.
the biggest obstacle to get through. Once you've done that, you're already 10 steps ahead.
Yeah, really are. And so thank you, Postman, for joining in.
Hey,
Really
thank you,
appreciate you.
Martinovich.
I'll see you soon.
All right, talk to you later.
Bye. And last but not least, we're going to try to get Andrews in here. He is the founder of Project Circle Up, and we'd just love to hear how you started and the mission behind it. So hopefully the connection doesn't do us wrong, and we can get this going.
Man.
Oh, connection is fine.
Yeah, what's up, bro?
Oh, wait. I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I don't know if the internet's gonna hold up, but if it does, I'm happy to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining in. You are the reason for Project Circle Up. You are the person that lit the torch that is allowing everyone else to carry it high and brighter. So thank you so much for just putting in that initiative, as well as just sharing your mission and your ideals. It's so contagious, and I believe every man that has joined since the inception of Project Circle Up has just really been inspired by you and your beliefs. So I guess the question I'd like to ask you is why? Why did you create Project Circle Up?
Thanks for the acknowledgement. I really appreciate it, man. I met the Jack.org team a few years ago, and just knowing that I'm here with you and we're representing them right now and we're taking a stand for men everywhere just brings everything full circle. I've been in this space for a lot of the reasons why we're having conversation today. I struggled with my mental health when I was in high school, and for a long time, I didn't feel like there was anyone that I could talk to about it. In fact, it goes further than that. I didn't know what mental health was. I didn't know what struggling felt like. And so when I was going through it, and I was what we call in the suck hole, when I was in the basement, when you're in the basement, and we find this with men especially, they tend to reserve themselves. The community like Circle Up, having men like you, Martinovic, Masara, Anna Blue, Postma, all you men, is what Jonathan at 14, 15, 16 needed, and I wish that I had. I was really lucky that I still lived at home, and that's probably the thing that saved my life, is because a lot of people that struggle, it might be in post-secondary, or maybe it's when they move out of their parents' place, and they're not surrounded by that core community, that core support system that they used to have. And if they don't have that, then who are they leaning on? And so I was really lucky. I lived at home, and I had my parents and my sister and my family that were able to take care of me. They were able to take me to a doctor to get support, get counseling. So we created Circle Up. You created Circle Up so that men who don't feel like they have a space to go, they're not sure how to communicate what they're going through, they just have a space for it. A lot of times this isn't about advice giving. A lot of the times it's about my anxiety that I have when I was struggling with my mental health was just me reliving the stories that I was telling myself over and over and over again about why my life wasn't going how it should, or the reasons why I was upset, or the reasons why I felt overwhelmed or hopeless. And by communicating it, by talking about it, and they become something that I actually work towards and make forward progress on, rather than something that I just keeps resonating in my head like this echo chamber. And so we created it so that men would have a space to be able to go, and they would be able to do that. And I couldn't be more thrilled about how it's going, and the amazing men that I've been able to surround myself with, who have been engaged in this and taken it on and become champions for it. And then
even though we're having a little bit of connection issues, I am so confident that everyone watching can just see the passion just spewing out of your screen, and just it proves to show that powerful leaders like you are the reason why this is happening and why this change is a real thing. And I just want to just say thank you so much for creating Project Circle Up and enabling all these men to have the support system. So thank you.
Yeah, you got it, man. There's a quote that I love that reminds me of leadership, and it's the best way out of fear is through it. And so anyone that's experiencing challenge, anyone that's frustrated by something that's going on in the world, any adversity you're facing is your opportunity to take a stand for the other people that are going to be going through the exact same thing. And so it's a beautiful leadership opportunity. I really, in many ways, don't think I did anything special. I just called some buddies and I said, hey, let's get together and talk about this. And I'm really happy that you showed up.
Modest too. All right. Thank you so much.
You got it, bro.
All right.
Peace from Tulum. Ciao, man. See everybody.
Enjoy. Awesome. And I'd like to just say thank you everyone for joining in again and talking about mental health in general, not just men's mental health. It is so important to just bring these conversations to fruit and to really bring it to the people, because if you're not, people are going to be suffering alone. The people you may think are always happy and always secure may have issues themselves with mental health. So it's super important to talk about it just so they know that you could be a support for them. And I'd like to say thank you again for the team at jack.org for being such a wonderful leader in this mental health space and just providing all these resources and tools and just overall a community, because the community is the most important thing to help and alleviate mental health problems. So thank you again, everyone, for joining in and listening. And I'd like to say good night to everyone and enjoy the rest of your week. Bye.